Hello. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for joining me today. If it's Sunday, it's Book Report Sunday. And so every Sunday I review a book. I get so many books referred to me. I'm very appreciative of it. I think I'm now coming up to 23 or 24 books I've reviewed. One every week, one every Sunday. I've learned so much. I hope you've enjoyed it. When I bump into people who watch my videos, check out my socials, they often comment on my book reports on Sunday more than any other book. So today, you know what? I picked a book and it wasn't referred to me. I sought it out. And then what's happened is, this word curiosity has become a buzzword. I've heard so many people use the word curiosity. They've used it in their vision statements, in their mission statements, in their business plan. It's this emerging word, and I've tried to understand, why is this word gaining so much importance in our current state? Why? And I wanted to get a better understanding of it. So I Googled books on curiosity. I asked ChatGPT. I did some searches, and the book I chose was Emotional Intelligence Curiosity by the Harvard Business Review Press. And what this is part of their emotional intelligence series. They have quite a few books on emotional intelligence. I believe this is the third one. It was just published, I think, in June of this year. It's not a long book. It's about 160 pages. And what it is, it's a collection of 11 long-form education papers. So there's like 11 papers surrounding the topic curiosity. And I've learned so much about this book. And if you want to see, here's a peek of the cover of the book. And then this is the 11 chapters, which are each is a paper, an academic paper. And just like this as the book cover is somewhat boring, the book was a touch boring. As a matter of fact, all honesty, I fell asleep listening to the first chapter the first time I tried to listen to it. The second time I listened to it, I listened to it while I was out on my morning exercise, which is good because you can't fall asleep when you're jogging or hiking. And the Audible is only 2 hours, so it's really easy to listen to. And in truth, it got better as I started to listen to it. The first essay is a little boring, let's say. But there was pearls of wisdom in each essay, and I started to understand why curiosity is so important in today's society. And here's the thing. Here's some of just the general concepts for the book. And I'm not going to go in a deep review of the book. I more want to share my, understanding and my grasp of why the word curiosity is so important. But curiosity is starting to become the most important human feature for success in the workplace today. And here's the premise. Today, and by the way, it has surpassed intelligence, and it's actually surpassed emotional intelligence. Curiosity now, so if you have IQ and you have EQ, curiosity now has a CQ score. Curiosity is actually the most critical factor, and here's why. Unlike, say 100 years ago, one human might have learned all knowledge, right? And yet today, no human has all knowledge. No generative AI does. There's massive amounts of information. And so it's no longer important how bright you are. It's not even important how much you know. What's important is, how can you find out? How quickly can you find out? So in a world where we're overwhelmed with data, we're overwhelmed with information, everything is changing every day, right? The people that will survive are the ones that are curious. And what that means is the ones that can evolve. It's no longer know it all, it's find it all, which is important. And so curiosity allows people to be adaptable. And that's really critical. We all know that. If you're not adaptable today, you get obsolete in minutes, right? So being curious leads you to questions, leads you to being open. You're much better at complexity management. Much better at complexity management. You're better in relationship building, right? Because you have the ability to listen and empathize, right? You're much better at innovation because you're curious about things that don't exist yet, and you have a much stronger emotional well-being because your curiosity nurtures a sense of purpose and reduces stress. So all these components about curiosity is actually helping create the successful human of the future. And that's why all these people are using the word curiosity in their 2025, life plan, business plan. They're saying a key tenet of my success next year will be curiosity. Now, one of the things I found most interesting, because this book had quite a bit of attachments to AI. And one of my favorite concepts from the book was, another way to beat AI. And just a side note, I've proposed two things. One, anybody can elevate above AI by being human, simply being human, being more human than AI. And an easy way to be human is always ask, if you're in mortgage or real estate, ask your clients, how do you feel? How do you feel about this, right? How do you feel right now? How do you feel about the process? Because while a human will react favorably to that question from a human, it'll be offended if that question is asked by a computer. And so we can outdo a computer by being human. And part of being human is slowing down, right? All technology is about speeding up. And so if we want to be different than technology, to be human is to slow down. Really interesting. The other thing that we can do to outdo AI is to have wisdom, right? That's one thing. AI just knows what it tells us, what we tell it, what we teach it, but has a hard time differentiating with what's important, what's not important, what should be elevated, what shouldn't be. All those are ingredients to wisdom. And so wisdom, by the way, isn't intelligence. Wisdom is being able to take a whole bunch of things and get meaning and clarity out of it. And that's wisdom. And so we can be more human and have wisdom. But there's a third thing now, which I completely embrace from reading this book and now understand why people talk about it. Curiosity. Generative AI models don't have curiosity. And now someday they may be programmed to have some sort of curiosity, but they'll never have the type of curiosity of the expanse of a human mind. We have the ability to be curious about everything. We're born being curious, right? And our curiosity doesn't have limits. We can be curious 2 million times a day, and we can be curious about things we know and things we don't know. Our curiosity makes us unique. It makes something that a machine can't replace. And so curiosity is a critical role. Now, I'm going to just quickly go through these 11 papers. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them. You can listen to the book in 2 hours. You can read the book in just a little over 2 hours. Have a little bit of caffeine before you start. You don't have to read the book sequentially. You can read, chapter 8 first or chapter 9. They're not sequential at all. Each one has a different concept. Some are better than others. And I really actually in the end got quite a bit out of it. So the first chapter is the 5 dimensions of curiosity. And the general premise here is not how curious are you, it's how curious are you? Like, how are you curious, right? So how curious is about volume of curiosity, but how are you curious is about what are you curious about? Because curiosity covers a whole lot of things. And the two authors in this paper say, hey, look, there's 5 dimensions to curiosity. It's deprivation sensitivity, and that's seeking knowledge or answers for things we don't know. Joyous exploration, that's just experiencing wonder and fascination with the unknown. The third one is social curiosity, as you would think. That's observing and learning about other people's behaviors and thoughts. How come they behave that way? There's stress tolerance curiosity, and what that has to do with is how do we deal with stress? Like, let's say we have a whole mountain of information we have to get through. We're incapable of doing that, and so what we do, we get curious on how we can reduce that down to signals that we understand. Another way to look at stress tolerance is, let's say we have a really, really boring job and we have to grind through a bunch of mundane numbers, repetitive activities. Our curiosity leads us to find something of interest inside of that job. And that's what stress tolerance curiosity is. And then the fifth dimension is thrill-seeking curiosity, pursuing intense, novel, sometimes risky experiences. And so if you read this chapter, they actually have the scorecard where you can rate your curiosity level on all 5 of these things. And then you can get a score and see what your CQ is using this model. And the thing is, in this chapter, the authors state, look, psychological studies like curiosity to enhance intelligence, perseverance, and meaningful engagement in work and life. And there are tons of studies in this book, as you can guess, it's an academic book. There's tons of studies that just argue the most curious people are the happiest people. They're actually also sometimes the brightest people, not that they have the most intelligence, just their curiosity gives them energy in their thinking. The second essay in this book, paper in this book, is Build Your Curiosity Muscle. And what it says is we all aren't born with the same level of curiosity, and we all don't grow our curiosity the same, but curiosity is like a muscle, and so it gives you a bunch of ways in which you can grow your curiosity muscle. I'm not going to go through them. There's 5, but there's if you want to become more curious, you can read that paper and it will teach you how to be more curious. The third paper, which is chapter 3, make continuous learning a part of your daily routine. And this is what's really important, because and we hear this a lot, in talking about technology. Learning is no longer about static knowledge, but involves learning and relearning. Or put differently, we no longer need to go to university to learn facts, learn disciplines, or to learn information. Instead, we need to go to university to learn how to adapt, to learn how to learn. What's the process of constantly not having all the answers? What's the process of getting to the answers versus having the answers internally? And then so that's the key point in that paper. Going to paper 4, chapter 4, is curiosity is as important as intelligence. This chapter is all about the role of curiosity, CQ, IQ, and EQ. I already talked about that. And they say CQ is simply the most important of those features now. CQ enhancers, remember that is your curiosity intelligence, or curiosity quotient. CQ enhancers tolerance for ambiguity, which is a crucial skill in navigating in certain environments like we're in today, right? And then it promotes intelligent engagement and leads to innovative problem solving. The interesting thing the authors state in this paper, unlike IQ, CQ can be cultivated and developed over time, which is the same with EQ, by the way. All right, the next paper, make work more meaningful. Here it says curiosity serves as a foundation for finding purpose and satisfaction in work. What this simply says is you should have curiosity about your enjoyment in work, what you do in work, your relationships in work, and that curiosity should help you structure a better job, a better life, a better work environment. All good. That wasn't my favorite of the papers, but it may be yours. Paper 6 was want stronger relations at work, change the way you listen. This is really interesting. And this is simply, which we know, effective listening driven by curiosity fosters trust and collaboration in professional relationships. And this just means ask questions, right? Don't assume, ask questions. Really super interesting. Now, they had some really interesting data in here. I like this chapter about how if you say 2 workers come to say a supervisor and an employee get together and they're going to have a conversation, and the supervisor starts off, the employee leaps to a conclusion about what the topic is and whether the supervisor is trying to help or hurt them within 0.07 seconds. Like instantaneously, they come to a conclusion. And part of the argument is, look, how do we unwire that? How do we bring curiosity to conversations? And then how do we get to better solutions? So that's really, it was kind of an interesting paper. The next paper, which is similar, how to avoid common miscommunication at work. Once again, it just strategizes about having open communication, to ask questions, avoid miscommunications. That wasn't one of my favorite papers. The last 2 were kind of together. Now, this chapter 8, which I really thought I was going to dislike, the 8th paper, but I actually got more out of it than I thought I would. And not because it was enlightening, it's just because it was a good reminder of how to be a better teammate. And the title of the paper is How to Develop Empathy for Someone Who Annoys You. That's the name of the paper, right? And what it is, once again, and the answer is having curiosity. It's curiosity and empathy. But curiosity is, why did they think the way they're thinking? Or why is the way they're acting really bugging me? And what does that really have to do with? Does it have to do with them or me, right? And do I really understand them? And so the whole part is shifting your focus from you, like, why are they doing this to me? To them, what's motivating this person? Why are they acting this way? And it was actually a good paper. And I didn't think I was going to like it, because if somebody annoys me, they annoys me, but perhaps I need to be a better person. The ninth paper is Form Stronger, Longer Lasting Connections. This whole paper right here, it highlighted the relationship ethos of Paul Eadros. I'm not familiar with Paul Eadros. Apparently, he is one of the greatest mathematicians of all time. I think Fortune magazine called him the oddball of all oddballs. But he has probably had more impact, mathematical impact on the world than any other person. And what he revolutionized in math, other than he created some unique formulas, which I'm unable to explain to you, but what he really did is he created collaboration within the mathematical community that didn't exist. But because he was the top of his game, he could invite people to collaborate with him. They were eager to, and he had 506 collaborators, direct collaborators. And what he started to do is putting these teams of mathematicians together that helped one another, and they actually solved problems that were unsolvable at the time. And so he was a master networking. And when you talk about, he was kind of a kooky dude too, by the way, but he created these lasting connections, and he created these really good, these really good environments where people could work together. And one of the favorite things I heard, he goes, you have to leave enough room in a conversation for serendipity. And what that means is that, look, you can't think you know it all. You can't assume you know where the conversation is going, and you can't try to lead the conversation to a destination. Sometimes this leaves openness for serendipity, and greatness can happen. So that was one of my favorite things, one of my favorite parts of the book. Going to the next paper, why you need to cultivate your sense of wonder, especially now. The thing that struck me in this chapter, they started the chapter with saying you have to have wonder and wander. And what that just simply, all this whole thing says is, look, you have to leave space in your own life and your own mind and your heart to have open space, right, for curiosity to actually, where you get to wonder what's happening, and then you have to just kind of wander through the outdoors or through silence and let things come to you, and your curiosity will discover things that you don't understand before. I actually kind of like the wander and wonder. I thought it was a pretty clever play on word. The final paper was the 4 phases that build a culture of curiosity. I actually like this, and I'm gonna restate that. The 4 phrases that build a culture of curiosity. And here's what the 4 phrases, and what this is, these are things that you can use in conversations that will create a curiosity environment. And a lot of times this is for leaders, to lead the conversation that will lead it to curiosity. The first one is, the phrase is, I don't know, which demonstrates intellectual humility, but it also invites space for other people to fill. It allows, so when you know everything, you're an uncurious person. When you don't know things, that's when curiosity kicks in. And when you claim you don't know things, you're giving permission for other people, the people you're working with, to not know things too, and let their curiosity kick in. The second one is tell me more. And this leads to deep listening. But once again, instead of assuming you know what somebody's saying, or that you've received all the information they're trying to give you, tell me more. I'm curious. Tell me more. Right? Inviting them to go deeper. The third one is, what if? The third phrase is, what if? And this exploration and ideation, once again, it's about fostering curiosity. When somebody's telling you a concept or a solution or a problem or whatever happens to be an opportunity, you go, what if? What if we didn't do that? Or what if we did? And tell me more, right? You're fostering this culture of curiosity. And then the fourth one, when you do problem solving, the phrase is, how might we? How might we? Which is collaborative problem solving. Once again, how might we invites collaboration, invites curiosity. So there you go. This is a Harvard Business Review's book on curiosity. I actually ended up liking it. I read the whole book and I listened to it. I got a lot out of it. It can be a little bit academic in time, so you may or may not love it, but I recommend it. I'm going to continue to kind of study curiosity. I'm going to continue to try to interweave it into my daily practice to try to create space for curiosity, because the world's changing so quickly, and if curiosity is kind of the key to help us travel through it, I'm happy to embrace it. As you guys know, I do a a book review every single Sunday. I'm working on building a content library. I'm working on a website, building a website that will have a content library, including a room with my book reviews in it, with the recordings. And I actually have a written book review. I go off some notes. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully you get a lot out of this. Hopefully it will help you in your path forward. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday, or whatever day you're listening to this. Thanks so much for checking in.